Amazing. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Kathleen.
And I'm Melanie. We're the co-founders of the ocean travel company called Dive the Americas. We're based here in the Americas.
Yeah, and we're here with Gemma and Ian on the Big Scuba podcast to talk about all things ocean travel in Latin America. Hope you enjoy.
Great. Well, it's really lovely to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're all the way in Costa Rica, and you don't both originate from there. What's your history? How did each of you start?
You can
I'll start. So I'm Melanie. Yeah, I'm actually from Costa Rica. I was born and raised here. So this is like home for me. My dad is from Florida. He moved to Costa Rica when he was 19, and he's been here ever since. So Costa Rica and the US has kind of been my home my whole life. And I knew I wanted to be in tourism from day one. I studied tourism in college. And I actually went to school in the US, and then I came back to Costa Rica to start my career here. I've been working in tourism ever since. I started in hotel management, and then I moved to travel planning, and then I fell in love with scuba, and we started a business. So that's kind of how I got to where I am.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
Yeah. No, I was not born here. I was born in the US. I ended up in Costa Rica a little more than 8 years ago. I was finishing up my biology degree with my university. I was doing like an extra year from what we normally do, and all my friends had graduated. So I was like, I'll just go on like a fun study abroad to Costa Rica. That sounds cool. Like I can learn Spanish, and like biology is thriving. It's very different here than it is in the States. So I came here, finished my degree, and just said I would stay an extra year, teach biology at a school at the beach. And 8 years passed, and I have made it home. I started working in tourism about 6 years ago. In sales. That was never what I had imagined. Like growing up, I always thought I would like go to medical school, or, like I always knew I loved science, but never thought about sales, never thought about tourism, especially in a foreign country. So then we started at the same travel agency. That's how we met. And fell in love with Costa Rica, fell in love with everything. And then during the pandemic, we got scuba certified and fell in love with that. And here we are 3 years, almost 4 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. It sounds like you had a really good start with the business and that as well then.
Yeah, so we started Dive the Americas. The idea was born maybe 3 years ago, a little bit less than 3 years ago. So we are fairly new divers. We got certified during the pandemic because there was like a deal to get certified. The whole country was closed, and like they had this, we're like, what better way to distance than like underwater? Yeah. Melanie did it first, actually, and then she convinced me to do it. And thank God, because it changed our lives.
It really did.
Yeah. So that's long story short.
So what level of divers, what have you got? Have you got your open water or advanced?
Yeah, we're advanced divers.
We're both advanced. Yeah, we're trying to make it a priority to get our certifications, because we just keep diving and not doing our certifications.
Yeah.
But because we are in travel, like we just, what brought together like Dive the Americas is that we kept traveling for diving. Like as soon as we fell in love with it, we were like, Latin America is our thing. We know it. Let's go travel and dive. And we had a hard time finding somebody that knew the travel aspect and the diving aspect. Like we could find somebody that could either help us with the travel portion or help us with the diving. But there was nobody that was really, in our opinion, doing both and doing it well. So that's where we had the idea to come up with Dive the Americas, and we started traveling for diving, and we ran into so many situations, good and bad. And we've been doing that ever since. But yeah, we definitely have a priority to get more certifications. It's just been so hard when we're like, working so much and traveling so much for recreational diving.
Yeah. Starting a business
Yeah.
is like, I mean, it's like a child, and I always like say it's like, it's right now it's like a toddler, and you never know what you're gonna get. So we spend a lot of time behind the computer, not as much time underwater as we'd like to. But my personal goal for 2024 is to become a dive master. That's my goal for next year. And I live here in Costa Rica. I live about an hour and a half from the closest beach. I live in San Jose, in the capital city, which is a lot closer than Melanie is living in Mexico City right now, which is way far from any ocean. So it's a bit easier for me to say that that's my goal next year. But we have to see how everything goes with the business.
Yeah. So you're diving, is it mostly, do you do any inland diving, or is it all ocean diving?
We do mostly ocean diving, but of course, being in Mexico, like the cenotes are there. We have so much incredible diving all around. So I've really spent a lot of time just getting to know inland Mexico as well as the coasts. This past year, I mean, I have traveled to all over. So it's just been really fun to get to know different kinds of diving. And I mean,
so you've done some cave diving?
I'm not cave dive certified, but we can do the cenotes. So it's something we're interested in doing more of.
Yeah. Mostly warm ocean diving.
I'm very different from what you guys have up there.
I don't know what these countries are like. So what's Costa Rica like for diving?
So Costa Rica is not generally known as like a dive destination, which is interesting. Right. When you're talking to people who want to come on like a holiday over here, and in Latin America, it's never like Costa Rica. It's like Mexico or like Galapagos, or Belize. Yeah, Belize. But living here, we have the luxury of being able to dive here, and it's the visibility isn't like, it could be amazing on one day and not so amazing on the next. Right. But on the Pacific side, there's just so much life. And so I think that's really spoiled me a bit, because I go diving in places like Cozumel in Mexico, which is Caribbean diving, and it's beautiful and the visibility is incredible. But there's not as much wildlife, and I'm so used to seeing so many different species, and just so much of them, like huge schools of fish, huge, like so many different kinds of sharks. So I think that sets Costa Rica apart a little bit. Versus a lot of the Caribbean diving that is known in Central America, at least. Have you guys ever been diving on this side of the world?
I've done
no.
I've done just sort of off Cancun. I did couple of dives off a boat there. As I hadn't been diving all that long. That was a few years ago, and didn't really go to plan. And it's very much grab your weights, grab your fins and mask and jump in. And I was kind of waiting for everybody to do like the buddy check and all that sort of stuff. And they'd all gone, they'd all cleared off and disappeared. And it was like, me and my buddy were like looking at each other going, I think we've got to jump in. And, I didn't do many dives at all, and like got all the weight and wrong and everything, but did manage to get under. And we had a good time, it was good. But it was really weird, because like so used to a formal way of diving, because I've been through courses and with the school, and to then go on this boat, and it's like, no, you just grab your stuff and you jump in. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, that's one of the things that we do, because I'm gonna say it, we're travel snobs. Like, we have been in travel for so long that like we like to have a nice bow, and we like to like know
who doesn't.
Totally. So for us, it was a surprise when we started diving, and we got into these situations where it was exactly that. It was just like, oh, jump in, here you go. We're relatively new at the time, so it was like a little scary. You want a little bit more structure. So we do, like, one of the things we do is pre-vet all of our operators, so we know exactly what that experience is going to be like, and we can say, like, okay, in this one you can go, but it's going to be a little more, you know, free form. Whereas in this one, you're going to go and they're going to be a little more structured and they're going to have a nice tea for you when you get out and things like that. So we can just set the expectations a little bit better when I think it's.
And who do you work with? So it's got an interesting point. So when you've got paying tourists who are going to come and go to these sites, who do you work with to make sure that operators and, you know, are following basic health and safety things? And you know, do you work with any agencies on that?
So for a lot of the providers that we work with across all of Latin America, we travel to each spot. So, you know, we've spent a lot of time in the Riviera Maya in Mexico to make sure we don't work with providers that just kind of shove you in the water and are like, good luck. Yeah. And if we're not able to go for some reason, we have like a questionnaire that asks a couple, like, well, a lot of certain things, like especially the insurance thing, because it's Central and South America is a little crazy sometimes, where people are just like, we don't need an insurance. And we're like, well, okay, we can't work with you if you don't have an insurance. And just things like that we look for if we're not able to go and like meet with the dive shops ourselves. And so one of our, like a lot of our goals, you know, include going to certain countries and meeting with the providers. Like we'll always like go on Facebook groups and ask like, hey, like what dive shops do you guys work with in these, like, what dive shops have you traveled with and do you love and why? And we ask a lot of questions and like make a list. And then we like go through the list and we, you know, send out an email to all those providers and whomever like fits all the criteria that we're looking for. We're like, okay, when we go there, we're going to make sure to meet with these people, hopefully do a dive with them, because there's nothing like experiencing it. You know, it's one thing for them to tell us how it is, but it's another for us to experience it and then relay all that information to the, you know, our clients and people that trust us to know those things, you know, what we were looking for as new divers. And so it's, if we don't know, if we've never been there, it's a lot of emails and calls and like really trying to like understand what they do as the providers.
Have you heard of the Reef World Foundation or Greenfins?
Greenfins,
yes. Reef World I've heard of, but I'm not super familiar with
them. So they've been around I think probably now 20 odd years, and you'd need to check where they cover, but they've spent a lot of time, in all their time basically helping tourist guides, people in the industry with checklists, health and safety stuff, making sure they all come up to certain standards, making sure people get paid, make sure they all got insurance. And I was wondering that you might find them useful to speak to.
And they have marine conservation, you know, very close to their heart, because it is about making sure the tourism doesn't damage the structure of the wildlife and the ecosystem. So they'd probably be worth giving a look.
Because you're looking at your website and you go to some great places, and some of the trips, you know, they sound fantastic and all high end, where, you know, tourists, you know, it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah, we do a lot. I mean, we work with, in terms of hotels, we have over 3,000 partners on this side of the world. So really, like, we love to do Zoom calls with our clients. Like, hey, what is your style of travel? Do you like luxury, or do you just want somewhere clean and comfortable to sleep? And then we can kind of set you up in that way. Like, how many dives do you want to do? We get a lot of people that come on these longer trips, and they'll do, for example, in Mexico, they'll do 3 or 4 nights in Mexico City, and then they'll go on their dive trip. And we help with that. Like, I live in Mexico City, so I'm like, oh man, you have to try these tacos. Like, you know, so I'm able to provide a little bit more than just the diving. But it is really important to us that people learn about this part of the world, because I think there is a misconception that Costa Rica doesn't have good diving, or the Pacific is this or that. And so us being there and being able to say, like, the diving here is really spectacular, you should come, is really
Yeah.
important to us. I think also new divers, a lot of people that are nervous to dive, I love talking to them and telling them, you know, I was nervous to dive. I was scared when I tried it the first time. And then that first breath underwater changed my life, you know,
Yeah.
like it was, and
Mhm.
my first dive was here in Costa Rica. I remember just going underwater and there was a huge school of fish, probably 300, you know, fish on the
Wow.
left side, and then a sea turtle just on my right side, like in slow motion. That was my very first dive. So I
That's
agree with what
amazing.
Kathleen said. Like I feel a
Yeah.
little bit spoiled having dove here so many times because we just have so much quantity of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
And I think luxury is
Yeah.
is like a relative term.
Mhm.
And you know, we worked in luxury for a luxury travel agency before we started Dive the Americas. And I think we really learned that like luxury means something different to everybody.
Mhm.
And like for us, it's just like being comfortable and like having like a nice place to sleep after like a really long day of diving.
Yeah.
But also like understanding that luxury for you might be different than what it means for us. And so that's why it is, you know, important to like understand who we're talking to and like what they want. And if like 1 million dives is like the most important, okay, like let's put all the budget towards the dives.
Yeah.
But if you want like somewhere like nice and like a bougie robe or slippers or something, I don't know, then like
Well,
that works too. Like it's
Yeah.
whatever you want and what makes you happy. And
Yeah.
as
That's
long
really-
as like with providers that you know are putting sustainability first and like and those things,
Yeah.
then like we're happy if they're happy.
Yeah.
I
So it's
think
more
if
a
you-
bespoke kind of service that you're offering. So rather than have a brochure and you just, oh, I want to go on that, it's so for people listening, it's very much they can shape their own holiday and vacation.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So how would it work then? So say I come along and I find your email, your website, and I make contact and say I'm looking to dive. Don't know any of the countries, but I've heard about, let's say, Mexico or Belize or Panama. I want to go diving for some of it. How would it then work when you receive that email?
Yeah, so ideally we'll get on a call with them because it's like so much easier to understand somebody on the phone versus an email.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then like, you know, we have certain questions that we know to ask. And, you know, if we get on a call, have that conversation. And then
So what
we
sort of
would-
questions would you ask?
how long do you want to travel here for?
Right.
Like what do you envision the trip to look like overall? I always like to ask why Mexico? Like what draws you to
Mhm.
Mexico? Because everybody has different answers, and I really enjoy hearing what people's answers are.
Yeah.
You know, how many people, what's your budget? Do you need help with flights? Like those kinds of things, like try to be as helpful as possible, and try to get as much information as we can. So then I can take all of that and put the custom itinerary together. So then it's like, you come over here, you know, you land and then everything is taken care of for you.
But do you book the flights? Do you sort the flights out as well?
Flights are a little complicated, so we
Oh.
try to steer clear of the flights.
Yeah. We don't book the flights,
Yeah.
but we'll send you like, hey, this is what we recommend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But in addition to what you said, I just want to add, like, usually dates is a big tell as well.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
dates.
when can you travel?
Mm.
And that's going to guide us to say, like, okay, if you're traveling during this season, Mexico is a better option. Or during this season, maybe Panama has a really special migration. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
able to say those things and kind of guide you in the right direction. If you like more of an off the beaten path and you're more adventurous, then yeah, maybe like a Panama or like
Mhm.
an Ecuador would be a great fit for you. But if you just want to like relax and not think about anything and lay on a beach, like Mexico is probably a better option.
Yeah.
But yeah, dates I think is huge.
Yeah.
So what,
Yeah.
what about like security? Because you know, in the UK, I'm sure, you know, there's lots of great things about these countries, But in the UK, we only kind of hear like, you know, Mexico and Colombia, you know, there's these, you know, there's a security risk for people, and Panama. And so how about security for people who don't totally new to these countries, have never been there before?
That's such a common question, especially for me. I tell people I live in Mexico City and everyone's like, are you okay? You know, it has this reputation. But really, like, I have found, as long as you're using your common sense, like you would in any other city, you know, don't leave your wallet laying out. You're going to be fine. Like, we recommend places that are safe. Again, places that we have gone to. I travel personally, like solo travel around Latin America often. We were just in Cartagena and Colombia. And it is very safe here. I'm willing to take that step and say, it is a great place to travel. I think you just have to use like common sense. And especially if you're traveling with an agency that can give you reputable places to stay, we're going to connect you with drivers, for example, or you can rent a car. But, you know, we're going to connect you with people that are going to be able to help you and guide you in the right direction. We provide a pre-arrival list for all of our destinations. So that has restaurant recommendations, it has safety tips in there, it has a packing list. So you're kind of prepared for what you're getting into. And we also have an in-country group for every country. So you're constantly like in a chat with us. So if you're in country and you're like, oh, I can't find my driver, just send us a quick message and we'll find them, you know, within the next.
Yeah, that's really, really good for anybody, if it's their first adventure into South America, to have that confidence that they've got somebody on call. Because, you know, there are bigger travel agencies and, you know, you hear horror stories, they can't get hold of anybody, they're stranded. But having that personal, and it does sound a very personal, bespoke service that you provide.
Well, I think this is the thing. When I went on my liveaboard, never done a liveaboard before. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the liveaboard to the Red Sea is the diving. But I knew it was going to be a totally different type of holiday that I've ever done before. And the good thing about it, what appealed, which I would imagine would also appeal to likewise travelers, I could literally turn up with my case and my passport and ticket from the moment I stepped into the airport in London. I knew where I was going, and I knew at the other side, I knew I was getting picked up, you know, and the whole time I knew where I was going all the way through. And I think that's the big thing. I think when people are traveling, especially to countries where they've never been, and they're going out of their comfort zone to where they're used to, it's good that you put that personal touch to it.
Yeah. And we literally put our phone numbers in that chat. So we are on top of all of our clients. My husband always makes fun of me because I'm always chatting with my clients and I'm like, look at this, you know, Bob is doing zip lining today. Look. And he's like, okay, I've seen plenty of zip line photos. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think it really fosters a great connection with our clients. I mean, for us, like, we have made so many good friends out of this, just from our clients coming. And like, if we can go meet them, we will, you know, we'll have dinner with you. If you don't want to talk to us, we won't talk to you. Don't worry. But it's just been really nice to have that personal connection. And I think that's something that we can offer that maybe the bigger agencies don't provide as much of. Really hanging.
Especially being like two women living in Latin America, you know, I would not say that I don't feel safe if I didn't feel safe. And I wouldn't like feel like I should send people places, especially like moms with their daughters, you know, like these kind of people that want to go travel. Like I wouldn't like send anybody anywhere that I wouldn't send my own family. And especially like somewhere like Colombia, for example, which has like notoriously been like in like, you know, past 20, 30 years, like not really the place to go. But like in the last 5 years has really just been growing so much tourism wise. And we just went there last week for Melanie's bachelorette party. It wasn't really a business trip, but you know, we make all those kind of trips, business trips anyway. And I was just shocked by how hospitable the people were there.
Oh.
I felt really safe, you know, but you're always like practicing, like, don't walk around on the beach at night by yourself. You know, I don't do that. I don't do that home for me in the US. I don't do Costa Rica. I don't do it anywhere.
Well, people have to take a certain amount of personal responsibility, don't they,
Yeah.
for their own well-being? And you're right what you say. So where do the majority of, would you say, your travelers come from? Is there certain countries or country where predominantly your business comes from?
I would say a lot of it comes from maybe 75% from the US and Canada. And then I would say the rest from Europe. We've had quite a lot of European clients actually.
Yeah. And those are always interesting because it's a whole different dynamic, right?
Yeah.
You're coming from so far, usually they're a longer trip. I don't know, usually the tastes are a little different than like our American clients. So we're able to kind of cater to that as well.
Right.
But yeah, mostly
a big destination I think is Costa Rica, because Costa Rica has so many like authentic boutique, more like off the beaten path hotels and like destinations.
Okay.
And I think that caters much more to the European, like UK, Europe.
So you get many Brits. Many Brits come over, yeah?
We actually have
Do they
some
behave?
Brits here in country right now that we're going to get beers with them on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice one.
They're the ones that want coffee. They always want the beers.
Yeah.
You tell me English, can't you?
Yes,
Yeah, and
Like,
in terms of like your age groups, is it sort of predominantly sort of younger age group that you find are using your services, or is it quite a far-reaching?
It surprised me because when we started, I definitely was like, we're going to get like young women, and we have so many families. We have older, like I call them salty dogs, that have 100 million dives under them that are reaching out, asking questions. So we really get people all over the board in terms of age groups and like dive ability. Like to me, that was the most surprising. We've met some people that are little like young girls, I don't know, and then they end up emailing us 100 times and booking trips with us. So yeah, it's all over the board.
I love when like new divers come to us, you know, that they feel comfortable enough and like included and like not scared to ask questions and those kinds of. But really, I would say we're all over the board.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So
and there's a lot to learn too from people. You know, we're travel experts, and we're diving. We're getting to be diving experts for sure. But we're newer in the dive world, and we don't lie about that, you know. And so there's stuff people can learn from us, and we're learning constantly. And I think that's the most fun part.
With diving, what sort of levels of diving? So obviously, could you come as an open water diver just with like 20 dives? And then and do you cater then for people that have got like technical qualifications?
So for those, like for more technical divers, we have contacts like in the dive industry here on the side. So usually what we'll do is we'll defer to like, okay, here's our expert on cave diving. They're going to kind of guide us on what we need to do for your cave diving. Because like we're not experts on that, but we have the contacts that are, and they're local. And to us, that's really important because there's agents like in the UK, for example, or in other places that have maybe been once or twice, but we prefer more to deal with the people that are locally there and diving that cave every day. So we use those contacts. We've had people contact us that are not even dive certified, that are just interested in getting into diving. And that to me has been the most fun, like you said, just because it's like they're kind of nervous to ask questions, but they feel comfortable enough to say like, I'm really scared about this, I'm nervous about that. And then we can kind of walk them through and help them get their certification. We've had a lot of people that are like either plus size or maybe they have a disability or things like that maybe need a little extra care because they're like, I don't know if this dive shop is going to be able to cater to my needs. So
Yeah.
we're able to kind of set them up and make sure that they're comfortable everywhere that they go.
Mhm.
Yeah, inclusivity is just a big thing for us in the diving
Yeah.
world.
It's good that you are new divers, because I think you've got a responsibility as well, because having, been involved with as a dive master myself, and took people for try dives and that, or refreshers. Some of the feedback I've had from people who've, when you speak to them, so have you been in the water before? Have you tried diving? And you do often hear, not always, but often, people saying, they tried it on holiday and had a bad experience and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's so good to hear you two talking as new divers, ensuring that people will have a good experience. And because otherwise people come to the sport, try it, and then have this bad experience, they hurt their ears or things like that. And, the sport then loses people like that. And
Yeah.
it's good that you acknowledge having that responsibility yourselves as new divers to say, yeah, we're going to make sure that people do come and have a good experience and a safe experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I feel responsible
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is important. And also obviously marine conservation as well, sort of knowing people are going to come and they're going to experience the underwater world and then go away and think, wow, this is another world, and
Book again.
Yeah. And it's even because sometimes people come to us where like the mom is a scuba diver, but the dad and the kids aren't, or something. So the dad or the mom books a day of diving, and we always try to convince the rest of the family to at least do snorkeling. Something that just gets them in the water, to even see what's under the water. There's so much. Most of our world is underwater and so many people don't know about it, and knowledge is power. I always say that. And so if you don't know, we're not going to be able to help people to understand why we have to protect it, and why it's so important that we need to be doing things now, or we're not going to have it in 100 years. Not to be all morbid, but
Yeah, well, this is it. Especially, if people are seeing amazing schools of fish and sharks, they're just gonna. How can you not be affected by that? And
Yeah. And again, our mission is just to get more people underwater.
Yeah.
So we do that through amazing travel experiences. But the more people we can get underwater, the more we can get people to fall in love with the ocean and ultimately help protect it. But yeah, it's been really fun to see families and stuff that will go snorkeling and then they'll call us and be like, maybe we do want to do discovery dive.
So that's the best.
Well, this is the thing with snorkeling. We found, some people say, they kind of dismiss it, but snorkeling is like the first gateway, in some ways, to get under the water and then proceed to diving. And it just takes you new places. Yeah.
And what about so for people who are abroad and thinking about coming over, so do you recommend any pre-reading or sort of research for them to do before they come over? Is there anything people need to do or would recommend?
It's not anything they specifically need to do, but I mean, we have dive guides on our website for the different countries, for different dive sites.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. Again, if you just want a relaxed holiday, or if you want a really, the most dives ever, if you want a really spectacular epic experience like Galapagos, you're going to want, a little more dives under your belt. You're going to want certain things. So, I would recommend just talking to someone and talking about where you're at in your dive career, what you want out of your holiday, when you're coming, and then they can kind of guide you in that direction.
Good advice that is, actually, because for new divers, the Galapagos, you can see it there, but you think, well, actually the diving is going to be quite tricky.
It's challenging.
Yeah. So I would say we went to Galapagos as very new divers. It was a very I would say we had about 50 dives, which is what they recommend.
Yeah.
But we got really lucky. We were invited on a liveaboard. And so we were like, man, like, let's get more dives under our belt so we can go on this amazing trip to Galapagos. And I mean, it definitely changed me as a diver. Now on the other side, I feel so much more confident after being there.
I bet.
But it was very challenging. Like the first day was very challenging, you know, because I wasn't used to
In what way?
Yeah, the currents and holding like in Costa Rica, like and everywhere else, you don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Like you don't touch.
Yeah.
And there you have to hold on to the rocks or you're blown away.
You allowed gloves?
Yeah.
You are allowed gloves there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I would maybe, it says minimum 50 dives. I would say minimum like 75, 100.
Really?
Yeah, I think you want to be a little, I mean, you'll enjoy it more if you're a little more experienced. But yeah, it's so rewarding though. We saw so much in Galapagos.
Yeah, that
like,
was
I bet.
highly recommend.
Life changing.
Yeah. There was one day where we saw 8 pregnant
whale sharks.
Wow.
Wow.
It was just incredible.
Amazing.
So yeah, Galapagos, highly recommend. And I don't know if you guys know about, I'm sure you do, Cocos Island off of Costa Rica. Also another incredible experience. Like growing up in Costa Rica, it was always a dream of mine to go there. My dad had been back in the 80s. It's just something that you grow up hearing about here. So being able to go there and see how spectacular all the sharks were, highly recommend for anybody that wants like an epic dive.
Yeah.
We had the guys on from the Galapagos whale shark. They were on really
quite early on, weren't they?
Really early on, weren't they?
Yeah.
And because they don't know where they give birth, do they? That's the one part they don't know.
That's crazy.
Which is amazing that they don't know.
And they put trackers on them as well, and they disappear and then they come back. Yeah.
And so what a lot of our dive masters, our guides told us, like, take pictures of them from above, because you know they can identify them by all the spots. And so like we sent all of our pictures to them, and so many of the ones that were there are ones that they had seen before.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy that we don't know where they give birth with so much technology that we have. It's still so unknown.
And we always send like fun tips like that to our clients, like, hey, after your dives, like send us the pictures and we'll send them to like our contacts and they'll tell you all about the whale sharks that we saw. Like
it's the Galapagos Whale Shark Project, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The guys. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, it sounds amazing, you know, what you do. And if people wanted to get involved in any conservation work, can you combine that with some of the holidays or trips that you organize?
Absolutely. Yeah, we work with different providers all in Latin America. So if you want more of a sustainability based provider, we have different options for you. Kathleen mentioned the questionnaire. A lot of the questionnaire is actually about sustainability, like what efforts
and
does
conservation.
What efforts does each dive shop have? And what I found fun about that is like we've asked these questions to people that have little to no conservation work at their dive shop, and then they'll come back to us and say like, well, we're not doing anything yet. What can we do? And so we're able to respond and give them like, okay, here's green fins, here's this, here's that, like here's some ideas. We found dive shops are really willing to do it. I think here maybe they're just not as aware of the options. So it's been even helpful on that side for them to make progress towards being more conservation.
That sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds really good.
It does. And it's kind of a win-win, I guess, for local people, because it's bringing tourism in and obviously they're benefiting from money coming in. But again, it's not just the money, it's like the perception of the wildlife and taking care of the ocean, that you're bringing that in, bringing the people in to see it, and then they're going away with a whole life-changing experience.
Like knowing how you can like change your day to day, you know, when you're not on holiday, when you're home and in the middle of nowhere, like little things you can do. You're like, oh man, okay, if I don't ask for the straw at the restaurant, you know, it maybe won't end up underwater where I saw it, you know, in Costa Rica.
You still have like plastic straws and that out there.
Not in Costa Rica.
Not in Costa
no.
Rica,
In
yeah.
They got
Mexico,
rid of them.
unfortunately, yes. So
Oh,
I
nice.
had a bit of a culture shock when I moved from Costa Rica to Mexico, because here in Costa Rica, it's like environment is number one. They
Yeah.
try really, really hard here.
Yeah.
In Mexico, they still have a really long way to go. So there's still like styrofoam, and they have plastic bags at the grocery stores, which is really sad. But it is nice to be able to talk to people and tell them, like,
Yeah.
bring your own reusable bag.
Yeah.
and bring a water bottle.
Sounds
things
like you're more ahead than us because we've still got plastic bags.
Yeah,
and-
so I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
ask you guys where that part of the
You know,
world
we've got rid of straws and
We've just got rid of plastic cutlery, haven't we?
Yeah.
And like
Okay.
takeaway shops, that sort of thing. So that's gone, no plastic. So yeah, but it's you can
definitely on the forefront of sustainability and things like that, especially like the hotels. They
Yeah.
do a lot around here. So it's been really nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So the listeners out there, Costa Rica's the place
Yeah.
to go if you want. Yeah. All right, it's a way to keep the environment pristine, isn't it? And looked after. Yeah. No, really.
Someone's got to do it. It's all of us.
Yeah. So what's the future hold for Dive the Americas? Have you got plans for the future to expand, or is it just you two?
So we just grew our team by 2 in the last 2 months, which has been really exciting. Somebody to help with sales and somebody to just help with a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Next year we're launching group trips because we really want to bring we've always done like custom trips really well in most of our tourism careers in Latin America. But we found that we really want I really want to like be on the ground with like a whole group of people. I like love people. Melanie's like, I'll take the operations part of it. And I'm like, I'll be there. But I love the idea of like bringing people together and you know, showing them around like this part of the world that I love. And you know, doing like a group trip of people that want to get dive certified, so like new divers, doing like a group live aboard trip to Galapagos with, you know, experienced divers. We have a lot in store for next year and the future, but we really want to like connection and community is a big pillar or a couple of our pillars at Dive the Americas. And so we'd always been like, how do we like really incorporate that into travel? And so we found that group trips are really going to be our next big thing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people dive in groups, don't they? So it kind of makes sense to build it like that, and good for business too. So do your families dive? Was it just you?
My dad and my sister came and got dive certified last year here in Costa Rica. Yeah. And so, one of my younger sisters is a freshman in university, and she has like this thing every year. She has to do a special, I don't know exactly what it is. It's some special class. And I convinced her that every year she should go diving. So she got her open water last year. This year in January, they're going to get their advanced. And then the next year I was like, get your rescue and like do things over the 4 years. So that's been really awesome to share that. Because other than that, I've just been like the crazy scuba diving daughter who like started her own business around scuba diving and nobody understood. I was so obsessed with it. And now they get it, which is I don't think anybody in your family dives.
Well, so again, my dad moved here back in like the 70s and
to
Costa Rica, and he used to dive. He's not certified.
Oh,
so that's like a very rural Central America thing to do. But he did used to dive. Yeah.
Wow.
But not anymore. Yeah. Now it's just me, just little old me.
Oh, well, that's still good. And it's, you're there to inspire lots of other people, which is great.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah. How long have you guys been diving for?
Sorry?
How long have you guys been diving for?
I qualified during COVID, so 2020. Yeah.
Like us. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the summer, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, because 2000 2019, I said, yes, I'm going to dive. And then obviously we all got locked down and managed to do, and my open water was in July 2020, wasn't it?
For some reason, I thought I was 21, but that's 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've done
Ours is
open water and advanced and rescue. Yeah. So that's
Very nice.
amazing.
yeah.
Cool. I've been diving, I think, coming up for that'll be 10 years next year, I think.
Oh,
Wow.
big milestone year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, my daughter, she learned this year, so maybe I'll hopefully we'll be doing a dive together to celebrate.
Oh,
So-
that would be
amazing.
so great.
Yeah. I
Oh.
think about April time, I think it was.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I
So
love
special.
Yeah.
that.
That is, I'm really pleased she learned this year, so it's really good.
Yeah, and it's great to see where diving can take you. And we say that with all the people that we've come across and spoken to on the podcast. You can just start diving and you never know where it's going to take you. A career, and like yourselves, it's taken you into tourism and travel and, your own business. It's just
Yeah, I always say that scuba diving changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I was never like Mel grew up wanting to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yeah.
Me, no. Well, I was like, I could never imagine myself owning a business.
No limits.
And here we are.
Yeah. Have no limits.
No,
When
there,
you
yeah.
run the business. Yeah,
Yeah.
no limits. Just go with
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, and love what you do as well. And you can tell that you love what you do. Definitely. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, we're really lucky. I mean, we've worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, are we lucky? But like, I think we're pretty
I
lucky.
think we're lucky to be in the business that we're at. And for me, it's like I love this part of the world so much that I just like I thrive off of hearing people like and their
Yeah.
experiences here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I love it. You just can't wait. So
Yeah.
And you can create your own luck as well, because you put all that hard work and dedication in, and that's the only way you get a business started. And it is like having a child, isn't it? Because there's all that effort you're putting into it.
yeah. And it changes. I mean, I'm sure you guys with the podcast, like, I don't know how it started and compared to where it's at now, but for us, like the business started one way and now we have all these things coming up on the horizon,
Yeah.
like these group trips and everything that we want to do for 2024. So it's
Yeah.
been just really fun to see it evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think, it's the effort you put into it is what you get out of it as well. And, you can see that if you dedicate hard work, you get good things out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions for you. Okay, we've got some set questions. We always ask all our guests some set questions to put them on the spot. Okay, if you haven't been already. Who's going to go first? Should we? Any volunteers?
I'll go first.
Okay.
She's the talker here.
Okay, so we're going to give you, three people. I'm sorry, three people. Who would you take with you in the water?
3 people. So my first person is a very strategic choice. I would choose Taylor Swift, not because I'm a huge fan. Like, she's great. I mean, she's very successful, but I think that's why I would want to bring her underwater, because her following is so loyal and like they will do whatever she does. They listen to whatever she says. And so I think if I could get Taylor Swift underwater with me for her to see what's there and then go back and tell everybody go and tell everybody what's there. That would be ideal. 4 people underwater. Yeah. The second person, I only prepared 2 of these. The second person would be Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I was kind of researching this to see if you guys would know who Bill Nye the Science Guy is.
Bill, who?
I've not heard of him.
American thing. He used to have this TV show growing up when we were young, would do like interviews, and he would do all these experiments on TV. I'm a biologist and I loved science growing up, and so I always idolized him. Really cool, fun guy. Would love to bring him underwater.
That's not him who's been on the Big Bang Theory, is it?
He might have been.
I don't know.
He's quite an old
like
guy.
childhood science icon.
I'm so bad at TV. Yeah.
Let's look him up.
We'll look him up.
Yeah. I think so. I was talking to Mel, and Mel was like, I think they have a different Bill Nye in the UK.
I was like, I don't think they're gonna know who that is.
He's an actor.
Bill Nye, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, an English actor.
Yeah. DM us if you know who Bill Nye is.
Yeah. Oh, well, they were some really good
Cool.
answers. We've not had Taylor Swift before. So that's
No.
like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a very like strategic
Business move.
Yeah, that's a business move.
Yeah, good one.
Great for the whole scuba community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she
Could
might
be
write a
good.
song. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Oh
go.
my God, you're right. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that.
Well, she did a cover of Ringo Starr's song about the octopus cave,
Oh my
Oh, yes.
God.
Oh my gosh.
octopus garden.
If you're out there listening to this podcast.
we'll tag her in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how about you, Mel? Have you got 2 or 3 people you'd like?
I have two.
So we both did too, because we were like,
Yeah.
we don't want to overwhelm them with 6 old people.
Of course.
So yeah. Well, my first thought, as soon as I saw the question, I was like, Steve Irwin. He was my childhood hero growing up.
Yeah.
So I feel like going diving with him would just be so fun. And he's so animated. Like, what a character. He's a conservation icon. So that was the first person that came to mind.
Nice
And
one.
then second was Dr. Sylvia Earle. I mean, again, icon, a women's scuba diver.
Yeah.
That this really embodies everything that we want to embody in the scuba community. So
Yeah.
those were my two.
I
That would
think
be badass.
I don't think we've had Steve Irwin before either.
No. So really unique answers. That's
Yeah.
great.
Oh,
Yeah. And you also touched on an interesting subject, you know, obviously girls diving, women diving. What's the kind of split in Latin America? Do you get many women diving or want to dive, like local people?
A lot more than before. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we've noticed in the last couple of years, because, you know, statistically speaking, it's been a man's sport. And so it's kind of new, like for women to feel comfortable in the diving community. And so we always, like, we really try to cater to make women feel comfortable reaching out to us, you know, celebrating Women Dive Day. And I would say I've seen a lot more women, even in the past year, than I had seen previously, which is really cool to see.
It is.
And just, you know, everybody together, like not just women, men, and, you know,
Families. Yeah, it's
families.
good to be all in the water, sharing the whole experience. That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
One of our group trips for next year is a women only trip.
Yeah.
So we're super excited to launch that one and just have that one's a little bit more like women and wellness focused. But it's going to be just a really interesting experience to be like around women scuba divers for a week. So
Nice.
Really excited.
Oh, we'll look forward to seeing how that goes. That's a really
Oh, we're so excited.
Excellent.
So another question we ask our guests, if they had a billboard, so if you've got a billboard and you're going to have it and it's going to be out there for the whole world to see, what would you put on your billboard? So it could be a message, it could be an image, it could be a video, it could be a song. But what sort of message would you put out there for the world to see?
I've thought about this one a lot. So
we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, we went back and forth on this one a lot. But I think having a message, a video out there that really embodies how easy it is to get scuba certified, and then what that feeling is when you first get underwater. Like if we could have something that would embody that and encourage more people to get scuba certified, that's what I would do. 100%.
Don't know what that would entail.
We need a creative director.
But we're dreaming here.
No, I like it.
Really
I think it might be a little distracting on the road, but that's okay. Having it on the side of the road. I just always think of that when I see the huge billboards with like videos and things when I'm driving down the road.
So in your mind, right, what would be the scene that you would picture?
I think
That's
I
hard.
picture somebody like going through like a quick, a couple seconds of like going through the certification process, like in the pool and then getting in the water. And then that first immersion when you go down and you just open your eyes. And again, I think of my first experience where it was just so magical. So going down and seeing like everything kind of in slow motion and the amount of life around you that you didn't even know existed. So that's what I picture, is just like that moment of the camera going down and seeing that whole another world underneath the water.
When I told you about, diving off Cancun, it's more near Cozumel, I think they took us to. And I remember seeing underneath for that first time. And it's where they've got like statues and things.
Okay, yeah.
Sort of like sort of, I think it's all sort of they're not very old. I think that's all quite recent stuff that's put down.
It's like an underwater museum.
Kind of, yeah. And but I remember seeing all these colors, because all I'd known previous to that was our inland lake in the UK.
Gosh.
And seeing that for the first time in such all these vivid colors, and it was like, wow, it's absolutely amazing, and seeing all the seaweed and all that move with the current, and it wasn't all that deep, but I think probably no more than about 6 or 8 meters total. And
wow.
It was just absolutely amazing. And that is what I was thinking about when you were saying that. So
like how do you bottle up that experience and put it on a billboard?
Yeah,
that's what
colors?
I want.
Exactly. Yeah. If a creative director's out there,
Sunlight and bright colors.
The background.
No, they're really good answers. Yeah. So if people want to find out more about Dive the Americas, where are they best to go?
Yeah, well, you can check us out on our website, divetheamericas.com. We have Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all the socials.
Yeah.
But we did want to offer a super special deal for all of your listeners out there. So with the referral code Big Scuba, we want to offer 10% off for all of our Big Scuba travelers for the 2024. So yeah, anybody that's interested, now's a great time, and we got a great deal for you.
That's excellent. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes and the code as well.
On Instagram, all over the place. It's just Dive the Americas.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's fab.
Yeah, well, hopefully people will, visit the website and, get some emails over to you as well if they've got any questions, and, start picking some trips together, because it's got to start somewhere, hasn't it? And, just
come down. We'll have beers with you all.
Know the best of ours too.
Sign us up. Well, it just looks like an amazing part of the world to visit, and and it's accessible, isn't it?
It's really special over here.
There's direct flights from the UK, there's direct flights from all over Europe, so let us get in touch. We'll send you all the info. We'll make it easy.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Brilliant.